Surface Pro 5 release date, news, and rumors. You could say that Microsoft already released the Surface Pro 5 earlier this year shortly after announcing it as the Surface Pro. But, then again, head of Surface Devices Panos Panay mentioned the Surface Pro 5 by name back in May. He claimed the company was waiting until it could add meaningful changes to the existing Surface Pro design before launching a complete Surface Pro 5 overhaul. As much as we loved the Surface Pro 2017 refresh, even we would admit it doesn't look or feel drastically different from the still competitive Surface Pro 4. So, it came as no surprise that last month, Microsoft insider Tom Warren of The Verge caught word that new Surface devices would show off new devices in October. This would theoretically take place at Microsoft's Future Decoded event in London. However, it's presently unclear if this remains the case, seeing as the Surface Book 2 made an out-of-the-blue appearance in mid-October. For now, all we can do is speculate the future of the would-be Surface Pro 5. Surface Pro 5 release date. Reports dating back to March 2016 led us to believe that the Surface Pro 5 would come out alongside the Windows 10 Creators Update, and that would have made complete sense if it had actually come to fruition. Instead, the Creators Update launched, complete with a handful of new designer and gamer-focused software features, but with no first-party hardware in sight. Then, a 2017 version of the Surface Pro, simply called the Microsoft Surface Pro, was unveiled on May 23 at a Microsoft event in Shanghai. For that reason, we're convinced there's little chance we'll see a Surface Pro 5 make its rounds by the year's close. Still, despite our bets being against it, though, we won't know for sure until October 31st. That's the day head of Surface Products Panos Panay will take the stage at the London-based Future Decoded event where Tom Warren of The Verge believes new Surface devices will make an appearance. Still, these will most likely be limited to an LTE version of the current Surface Pro, various ARM-based Surface devices and possibly a Surface Book 2. Surface Pro 5 price. Historically, Surface pricing scarcely fluctuates with each new variation. At the Shanghai event on May 23, the Surface Pro was revealed to come with a $799 price in the US, £799 in the UK, that's around $1,380, price tag for the entry-level model. If the Surface Pro 5 is indeed the Surface Pro, then we now know for sure what the price will be. If the Surface Pro 5 is actually a more powerful version of the Surface Pro, then it would be safe to expect a higher price tag. That said, while it wouldn't be ideal for Microsoft's loyal following if the company deviated too far from the norm, ambitious upgrades may necessitate that it does. For the price of the next Surface Pro to differ from its predecessors, it would have to offer some serious advantages over its last-gen sibling, not just a run-of-the-mill spec boost. Regardless, the ball is in Microsoft's court here, and if pricier new additives are implemented into the baseline model, it's not unprecedented for PC makers to issue a price hike. See the latest MacBook Pro. Surface Pro 5 specs. In terms of specs, what little we know is based on tweets from Microsoft informant Paul Thieut, whose sources have told him that the Surface Pro 5 will indeed use an Intel 7th generation Kaby Lake processor. More likely, though, is that he was confusing the Surface Pro 5 for the new Surface Pro, considering it, too, uses Kaby Lake. So if you need a device to replace your now unsupported Atom-based 2-in-1 from years past, you can take solace in the fact that at least one of these will remain an option. As it stands, and as Thieut had also predicted, the Surface Connect proprietary charger is here to stay, meaning the latest Surface Pro and presumably the Surface Pro 5 don't use USB Type-C for charging or data transfers. Surface Pro 5 design. Ahead of its announcement, a leak published by VentureBeat showed off a number of press renders that claimed to be of the Surface Pro 4's successor. As it turns out, that was only half true. These designs ended up representing the Surface Pro rather than a true Surface Pro 5. Those who were hoping for an intense overhaul of the Surface Pro 4's appearance will certainly be in for a rude awakening. Yet, for those of us who adore the SP4's current look and only care about performance refinements, this will do just fine. Surface Pro 5 Stylus and Dial. One piece of the puzzle regarding every new Surface is how Microsoft will upgrade its Surface Pen stylus accessory that comes bundled with each tablet. The most recent Surface Pro iteration may have been treated to a helping of 4096 pressure sensitivity levels, but back in January 2016, we were led to believe that a rechargeable stylus was in the works in Redmond. Another interesting patent filed by Microsoft describes a renewed Surface Pen loop, designed to latch the Surface Pen onto your Surface devices via a USB connection. Not only would it hold the Surface Pen into position when needed, but it would simultaneously charge the accessory for prolonged continuous use. Of course, Microsoft also has the Surface Dial in its clasp. The designer-focused puck-like accessory was briefly mentioned in a slideshow presentation in December, with ZDNet having picked up the slides itself for use in a news story. The company claims that peripherals such as the dial, wearables, headsets, and more are factors essential to what is perceived as the modern PC. Also mentioned was the incorporation of hero features such as Cortana and Windows Hello, and although a fingerprint scanner didn't make it into the new Surface Pro itself, there is an optional type cover that includes this functionality. With that in mind, we can surmise that if or when a Surface Pro 5 is announced, it will also support fingerprint recognition. What we want to see. As much as we've been impressed by the Surface Pro 4 and its follow-up hibernation bugs aside, there will always be room for improvement. That would be the case even if it had earned our Editor's Choice Award. From the screen size and resolution to the hardware found inside, we have a few ideas for how Microsoft could craft an even better Windows 10 tablet. Longer battery life. This is a bit of low-hanging fruit, but countless customers have lamented the Surface Pro 4's battery life, regardless of issues with its sleep mode. We rated the device for 5 hours and 15 minutes of local video playback. That's well below Microsoft's promise of 9 hours of video playback, a benchmark that even the 2017 Surface Pro couldn't achieve. In our review, our test resulted in 6 hours and 58 minutes of video playback. Our video playback figure is in line with the average laptop, though it's a far cry from what its nemesis, the MacBook, can achieve. Ideally, and realistically, we'd like to see at least 7 hours of battery life reliably from the next Surface Pro tablet. That would put it closer in line with the MacBooks as well as competing tablets, like the iPad Pro. Surely, you'll need as many milliampere hours in the Surface Pro 5's lithium-ion battery as you can get. That said, if the Surface Pro 5 could garner anywhere near the Surface Book 2 manufacturer's suggested battery life of 17 hours, you would find no complaints from us. Come on, Microsoft, we know you've thought about it. An even sharper, or bigger, screen. With the Surface Pro 4 and the subsequent Surface Pro, Microsoft managed to outrank countless rivals in both the laptop and tablet spaces when it comes to screen resolution. With a razor-sharp 267 ppi, pixels per inch, already at 2736 x 1824 pixels within a 12.3-inch screen, it's not as if the Surface Pro 5 needs to be much sharper. However, if the next Surface Pro were equipped with, say, a 4K, 3840 pixels wide at the very least, screen, that would rip its productivity and entertainment capabilities wide open. Film and photo editors could work at the native resolution that's increasingly becoming the norm, while average Joes, could finally watch Netflix in 4K on a tablet. That said, the realm of super sharp resolutions might be reserved for the Surface Book range at this point. So, why not up its size a bit? The Surface Pro 4 is big enough for almost all tasks, but it's still not the established default size for most laptops, 13.3 inches. Then again, doing so may cannibalize Microsoft's market by negating the need for its Surface Book. On the other hand, maybe the iPad Pro is onto something with its 12.9-inch display. After all, we're not asking for a gargantuan, monster-sized tablet, just a slight size boost. Assuming the resolution doesn't bump up too much alongside a size increase, the extra space could allow for a battery life boost. It might finally be time for USB-C. With the latest MacBook Pro and HP Spectre among the most popular devices to adopt the latest in USB interfaces, USB Type-C, or simply USB-C, is an overdue feature for the Surface Pro. A reversible, versatile port, or two, may be just what the Surface Pro 5 needs to mitigate the product line's lacking input/output problem. A single USB 3.0 port and a proprietary charging port aren't going to cut it for much longer, and with the help of a specialized set of adapters, USB-C is infinitely more utilitarian. At the same time, Microsoft may want to include a standard USB 3.0 port, too, in order to natively meet the system requirements for its own Windows mixed reality headsets. If the company wants to lead the pack in the business of affordable virtual reality solutions, it's a no-brainer to make the Surface Pro 5 compatible. There's no telling if or when we'll see a true Surface Pro 5. Perhaps it serves Microsoft's customers just as well to release slightly better hardware biennially than to perform a complete facelift on the Surface Pro even less frequently. Nevertheless, we're sure to see some sort of new Surface product at future Decoded come Halloween.